So this is a video for 18 to 23 for your progress check review. So we have to graph. I'm going to start by listing my properties. So with the B of 2, the new period is going to be 2 pi over 2, which is pi. My midline's at -1, and then the amplitude is up 3 and down 3. Oop, that's only 2. And then no horizontal shift, so that, and it's cosine, and pi is my new period. So I need each halfway here at pi over 4 and 3 pi over 4. So cosine is max, middle, minimum, middle, maximum. But the directions say specifically to graph to -pi to 2 pi. So I'm going to continue the pattern. And then now backwards. Oops. Wait a minute, where did I mess up? Middle, max, middle, min, middle, max, middle, min. Oh, middle, there we go. Max. Try to intersect your point, or use pencil so you can fix if you miss. Okay, for 19, we have an amplitude of 2 with a reflection. The midline is at y equals 3. No period change. All right, so then sine is middle, but with the reflection, we're gonna go to minimum, middle, maximum, middle. And then max, middle, min, middle. And there's our graph for 19. Write a sine and cosine function. All right, let's figure out the midline. Max plus min divided by 2. Right here is my middle. So that means the amplitude is 4. The period is 4 pi. So B, sorry, you can't see that, sorry. Period is 0 to 4 pi, so that's 4 pi. So then B is 2 pi over 4 pi, which is a half. Cosine is the easy one because there's no horizontal shift. So now for sine, everything's gonna stay the same, but I have to find my horizontal shift value. So sine starts in the middle and goes up. So that's to the left pi. You could have also picked to the right 3 pi. And gotten that answer. All right, let's do it all again for 21. Let me make sure you can see everything this time. My midline is at 1. That means the amplitude is 2. The period from middle back is pi. So that means B is 2 pi over pi, which is 2. So cosine, amplitude, cosine B x 1, sine. Okay, so figuring out the starting values. Cosine is at a max, so that's to the right pi over 4. You could have picked any maximum and translated left or right. Sine starts in the middle, goes up, so there's no horizontal shift. So you could write +0, or you could just leave it as x. and then plus 1. Okay, tangent. I know there are vertical asymptotes at every pi over 2. Draw them with dashed lines. I know tangent has x-intercepts at every pi. And the tangent of pi over 4 is 1. So I know this is how I'm going to get that increasing curve. Repeated. This is just half of it. And this half. Okay, what is the domain? All real numbers, x cannot be n pi over 2, where n is an odd integer. Because I'm skipping every 1 pi over 2, 3 pi over 2, 5 pi over 2, and so on, and the negatives, so that's why I do odd integer. The asymptotes are negative 3 pi over 2, negative pi over 2, pi over 2, and 3 pi over 2. And the roots are the x-intercepts, so negative 2 pi, negative pi, 0, pi, and 2 pi. Okay, so for problem 23, Mrs. Strauss is on a Ferris wheel. She starts at C, has a radius of 50, and her seat starts at 60. So if this is 60 plus 50 more gives a height of 110. And that means the bottom will be at 10. And she starts in the middle at 60. So if it helps you, you can sketch a little graph before we have to write the equation. And it takes her 36 seconds to go all the way around. So halfway around is 18 seconds. So then the top, which is a quarter, will be at 9, and the bottom. So there's a little sketch of the graph. So since it starts in the middle, we're going to use a sine function. The amplitude is 50, which is the radius, 2 pi over the period plus the midline. And now the 2 pi over 36, you could reduce that. So now part B, I first have to make sure I'm in radian mode. I am. And y equals, I'm going to type in 50 sine. Let's reduce this. It's going to be pi over 18. It's just less to type. So pi divided by 18x plus 60. Oh, I did not mean to clear it. Then in y2, we're going to put 100, which is the height we want to test. And if you just hit graph, you're not going to see much. You can see it's working here, but we don't have the appropriate window. So we have to hit the window button and change it to look like our ride. So the time is going to go from 0 to 36. And our height is going to go from 0 to 110. I'm going to round up to 150 just so that it pulls the top of the ride down a little bit. So there's one rotation. So it says during the first rotation of the ride. And those are the 2 times she's at 100 feet. So we're going to do second, calculate, second trace, intersect. I'm going to arrow to this spot, hit enter 3 times. And it says 3 decimal places, so that's 12.687. And then let's go find this one, second trace, intersect. Hit enter 3 times, 5.313 seconds.